Today our inquiry focuses on the Gospel according to Luke, the 6th chapter, verses 17 through 26. This third Sunday in Black History Month 2025. Matthew tells this story in a way that has been titled the Sermon on the Mount. Because in Matthew's telling of the story, Jesus is preaching from a mountain, looking down on the people below. But in Luke's telling of this story, Jesus is not on a mountain. He's standing on level ground with the people that he is preaching and teaching as one of them, not above them. Hear how Luke describes this scene. In chapter 6, verses 17 through 26, under the title, Jesus' Popularity Increases. Jesus came down from the mountain with them and stood on a large area of level ground. A great company of his disciples and a huge crowd of people from all around Judea and Jerusalem and the area around Tyre and Sidon joined him there. They came to hear him and to be healed from their diseases. And those bothered by unclean spirits were healed. The whole crowd wanted to touch him because power was going out from him and he was healing everyone. Jesus raised his eyes to his disciples and said, "Happy are you who are poor, because God's kingdom is yours. Happy are you who hunger now, because you will be satisfied. Happy are you who weep now, because you will laugh. Happy are you when people hate you, reject you, insult you, and condemn your name as evil because of the human one. Rejoice when that happens. Leap for joy, because you have a great reward in heaven. Their ancestors did the same thing to the prophets. But how terrible for you who are rich, because you have already received your comfort. How terrible for you who have plenty now, because you will be hungry. How terrible for you who laugh now, because you will mourn and weep. How terrible for you when all speak well of you. Their ancestors did the same things to the false prophets. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Let us investigate this text using the lens Beatitudes and Black life. Beatitudes and Black life. To To beatitude is to offer a blessing. The telling of the Beatitudes tells the blessings that Jesus spoke over the crowd who came to hear him. Some came to be healed by him. Some were curious about this new preacher in town who seemed to have authority to speak the word like none other had this authority. Some came because they had nowhere else to go. The word that Luke uses, the Greek word that Luke uses to describe the crowd is patokoi. Patokoi means the destitute. It means the unhoused. It means the poor. It means the sick who had no money for medical care. It means those struggling with emotional issues and mental illness because of the weight of the oppression that they had been living under the Roman Empire. The patokoi, the day workers, who might have worked today but had no idea when the next time they would be able to earn any money would be. Those who ate grass for their meals. Those like the woman with an issue of blood had an ongoing medical condition and spent all of their money trying to get well with doctors, and no one could cure her. The patokoi, the destitute, the ones who couldn't borrow money really because they had no idea when they would be able to pay you back. Not one of those, okay, when my check comes, I'll straighten you out. No. These were the ones who felt like a motherless child, a long way from home. It is to these that Jesus is speaking in Luke's telling of the Beatitudes. And he's also teaching a large number of his disciples who are in the front. They're the students, his pupils, the ones he is teaching the way. So they were in the front, hearing the lesson. And behind them were the people from the community, from all over, who had nowhere else and nothing else, and they looked as this poignant description like sheep without a shepherd. No one to guide them or protect them from danger. And you know how it is sometimes when people who are having a hard time get together, the slightest thing might cause a problem. Some were straining to hear Jesus and see Jesus. They were in the back and then stepped on somebody's foot. And somebody said, "Man, that's my toe," when you finish stepping on it. And then the guy who stepped on said, "Man, look, I'm just trying to hear." And they got loud with one another. People started turning around to see if they was going to do something to one another. Y'all ever hear about crowds like that? Sometimes we're so on edge, the slightest thing will set us off. on one another, like sheep without a shepherd, like a motherless child, a long way from home. It says that Jesus healed them of their diseases. That flashpoint temper, he healed them of their diseases. This feeling that nobody knew them and nobody cared about them, he healed them from their diseases. The myth that the Romans had propagated that if you weren't Roman, you weren't human, you weren't worth anything, they could do anything to you and not have to worry about the law, healed them of their diseases. The internalized racism, the low self-esteem, the woundedness and trauma of growing up in an oppressed condition, what Martin described as trampled on by the iron feet of oppression. He healed them of their diseases. And cast out the demons of inferiority that had taken up residence in their souls. So that they would begin to believe that they had a little light to shine. And then he pronounced the blessings, the Beatitudes, the happy are you. Can you imagine how dislocating that must have sounded to people who had little or nothing for the teacher to say, happy are you? If you're hungry, happy are you if you're hungry? What? My stomach is saying something different in response to that happy thing that you just said. Happy are you who weep. Happy are you who mourn. Happy are you who know what it's like to be hated on and attacked and identified as the source of the problem. Happy are you? How can that be? In the Beatitudes, Jesus wants to offer these sheep without a shepherd something that will turn their lives around. So he turns their lives upside down. To those who have been identified as the losers, he says, you are going to win. And those who are identified as the winners because of their power, wealth, and riches, those are in Jesus' blessing a woe. You're the losers. How terrible for you to think you got it made in this world. It's an upside down world that he encourages them to live in, to believe in, to think about, to see themselves in. Jesus pronounces blessings on the oppressed. Much like we read in the preamble, for the dispirited spirit, for the disenfranchised place and presence, for the oppressed justice, an upside down world where those who suffer will be first and those who celebrate will be last. He got down on their level, not above them, he stood with them and pronounced an upside down world. The poor are rich. The hungry will be full. Those who weep will laugh. The persecuted will be rewarded in this upside down world of Jesus' blessing. So what he offers them is to embrace the conditions that they are living under and to use them for their freedom. He doesn't take away the poverty. He doesn't fill every belly. He doesn't have a long table and says, come and eat. He says, what you are struggling with is the ingredients for your liberation, because the struggle makes us human. The challenge pushes us into deeper relationships with God and with neighbor, because we find that by ourselves we are lost. Attempting to imitate the rich, the wealthy, the powerful, the celebrity is the way of distraction. Engaging in a life that is concerned with those who are struggling is the way to liberation. So for those motherless children, Jesus says God offers you a new life. God won't magically pull you out of the struggle. God will show you how to use the struggle to refine you as pure gold. That sounds kind of weird. It sounded that way to them. Because in many cases, the idea about spirituality and the idea about society was the rich and powerful were so because God had blessed them. God had given more to them because they were more worthy. Their lives were simpler and more comfortable because they were so much better than everyone else. And God was rewarding their goodness. But Jesus knew something about all of this that is certainly lost on us today, who are taught to worship and emulate the rich, the powerful, and the celebrities. And that is that every great wealth is the result of a great crime. Every great wealth, says one of our social philosophers, is the result of a great crime. Because those who have more than they need have in some way taken something from the people. And the ones who have less or have nothing are not that way because they are lazy or because God has cursed them, but because what God has given for them has been stolen by those at the top of the food chain. Certainly we can see this very clearly in the latest administration, where the billionaires are the favored ones, who get the best seats at the inauguration, who get to stand in the Oval Office and make policy although they have not even been elected to any office. And the first thing they want to do is cut what is given to the poor and those who are struggling so that they can steal that too. Woe is you who are obsessed with riches, power, and control. Not only do they not satisfy, but they increase the misery of those upon whom Jesus pronounces the Beatitudes. Woe to you who party through life. Woe to you who waste. Woe to you who get rich off of what is intended for those in need. This is the difference between how Luke tells the Beatitudes story and Matthew tells the story. Matthew only has blessings. Luke has blessings and woes. And at the same time is saying to those who are lost in wealth, riches, and celebrity, you can find your way out through radical obedience, through uniting with, to identifying yourselves with those who are struggling. Beatitudes. Jesus offers those who are struggling a choice of the life of the prophet. He says, be happy when they come for you like they're coming for me. Can you imagine? He says, if you live this life right, if you live into this beatitude, this blessing that I'm giving you, you are going to be even in more trouble. People are going to condemn you. People are going to attack you. People are going to disrespect you. People are going to try and silence you. And if that happens, rejoice. There he goes again. Upside down. If they come for you, that means you're on the right track. Because they are coming for me. If the powerful are glad to see you, reserve a table for you, invite you onto their yachts and helicopters and private planes, oh, you are in trouble. You might have to check yourself, as Ice Cube once said, before you wreck yourself. That's not the way of the prophet. That's the way of the false prophet. What I'm offering to the motherless children is an opportunity to lay hold of a prophetic life. A life lived in service to others. Not where the focus is all I can get for myself. It means you join a community of people who are attempting to turn the world upside down, who willingly take risks in order to change unjust political, economic, and social systems. Luke's telling of the gospel is very present in the material conditions that people are living in. Matthew's is more focused on the spirit. That's not less important, but it's different. Jesus says that the way to freedom and justice is through the struggle, the difficulties and changes that you go through. The way you are pushed by those who oppose you is a way of growing you and grounding you and tearing away the parts of you that have no value. So in a way, those opposers are helping to ground you in faith and in prayer and in service and in humility, because you recognize you need others in order to live. Beatitudes in Black life say to us, there's a way to live under persecution that produces power. A way to face oppression. Not with your eyes closed and your hands over your head, but fully openly saying yes to the struggle, because the struggle makes us human. It helps us to find powers within ourselves we didn't know we had, because we did not have to call on them any other way. It helps us to understand the depth and power of God, because we had never had to lean on God in such a way. The power in the spirituals come from our ancestors' struggle to say yes in a world that told them no. And they dared to believe in an upside-down world where the last could be first and the first last, and they kept on struggling, kept on walking, kept on talking, marching up to Freedom Land. It was a beatitude, a blessing in the midst of the mess. has made what we sing in the Black National Anthem something that really talks to our souls. Shadow beneath thy hand, may we forever stand true to our God, true to our native land. This is how the Beatitudes live in Black life. This is the word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. Do you need a beatitude? Do you need a blessing? Do you need a way of looking at your struggles that can help you see them as teachers and not just thorns in your side? Are you searching for a believing community so that you will not feel as though you're a motherless child a long way from home with no one to care for you and to no one to care about you? This is the purpose. See, there are purposes for which God called churches into being. Churches that follow Christ, who knows what to say to those he sees who look like sheep without a shepherd, who loves the unloved, who makes room for those who have been cast out, who reclaims those who have been thrown away, who is the mother of those who feel like a motherless child. We want to help you find him as a member of Sojourner Truth Presbyterian Church. No, we cannot promise that membership means all of your problems are solved and everything is without difficulty. But the Beatitude helps us to look into the difficulty and into the problem and live through those in such a way that they are instruments that help us to move on up a little higher. Come, let us reason together. If you will text me or call at 510-691-5204, 510-691-5204. I want to talk with you about this. You can want to email me at teachelder@gmail.com, teachelder@gmail.com, title line, Beatitude, the blessing. Let's see how what looks like disaster to you might just be the source of a blessing. Amen.